ESPN in a recent article named 5 big-time trade candidates. I'll call them Blockbuster because it's fun. We'll break down each one and why. Not all of them I actually think make sense as trade candidates. Some of them certainly do, but not necessarily each and every single one of them. Now, we'll call this our trade deadline coverage, or our lead-up to our NFL trade deadline coverage. If you want more of that trade news, trade rumors, you had Jarvis Brownlee get traded today from the Titans to the Jets, but that does not fit the Blockbuster category. We've got you covered. Hit that like button. That way we can keep doing more NFL trade-focused videos. Let's go to the first name on the list, and that was ESPN naming Tyreek Hill as one of the biggest NFL trade candidates, which, probably isn't a huge surprise to really anybody involved. This has been percolating out there for a while now. It really got going last year when Tyreek Hill said he didn't want to be in Miami anymore, and then kind of changed his mind and backed out on it and said, I'll be better, blah, blah, blah. And he wasn't a captain this year. There are issues, though, with the Tyreek Hill trade. The talent isn't what it was in 2023, although he is on pace to be better than he was last season. Only a 3-game sample size. The situation in Miami has kind of deteriorated a little bit as well. I think the biggest issue here is not, can he play football? He obviously can. It's the contract. And I ran the updated numbers here. So his cap hit for Miami right now is $27.7 million. New team would pay, Dolphins would save this year $11.8 million. Now the problem is, big picture, this is a rental. Next year, if you traded for Tyreek Hill, you'd owe him $36 million, nothing guaranteed if a new team traded for Tyreek Hill. The Dolphins are currently set to have Tyreek Hill on the books next year for almost $52 million, which is above quarterback cap hit money. This is obviously his last year in Miami, unless he gets an extension, which they're not going to do. And that right now, if the Dolphins trade him, they incur $28.25 million in dead money. That's the dead money no matter what, if they cut him actually next offseason or trade him now. The contract is a complicating factor. How much do you want to give up for a rental of Tyreek Hill, who also is once again dealing with more off-the-field drama, and you can pretty much set your watch to it. It's going to happen at some point for Tyreek Hill. That's who he is. It's happened so many times. I don't know if a team wants to go trade for Tyreek Hill and risk a suspension or more off-the-field issues rearing their ugly head. It just kind of puts him in this weird middle ground of I think the Dolphins could have some interest to keep losing games, but can they find the right partner and get the right value back? So predictions. Will the Dolphins end up trading away Tyreek Hill? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know at the pinned comment of today's show. No surprise who the second name on the list is. That is Kirk Cousins of the Atlanta Falcons. Again, the contract's kind of an issue for a lot of these players. Lost his starting job last year with the Falcons. He wasn't playing well. He kind of started off okay, and I think the mobility kind of began to decline as well. He was off to a great start in 2020. He low-key would have been in that MVP conversation had it continued. It probably would have been Allen, Lamar, Dak, and Kirk in that year for the MVP conversation, but got hurt, wasn't the same. Did get to play briefly in Week 3 as part of the Falcons' disaster class against the Panthers. 5 of 7, 29 yards, and nothing to learn about that particular performance from Kirk Cousins. The contract here, also looming oh so large. $40 million cap hit. That's what the Falcons are paying him. The new team would owe him, this is true for Tyreek Hill too, the prorated figure. So you're going to not pay him 3 game checks if you traded for him right now. So it's not quite the full 27.5, call it 23, 22, round down a little bit. But there's also $10 million in guaranteed money next year for Cousins and the Falcons. That's a lot of money to pay for a guy that you're kind of treating as a rental who you don't know how good it's going to be. The Falcons, I think they would trade Kirk Cousins. But does anyone really want to eat that hefty contract? I am not so sure. I think that goes for the Falcons, but they eat it. If they were going to eat the money, they could have traded him already. But beyond that, it's murky at this point. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. It is simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. You get those picks right, you could cash in. Prize Picks puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. They offer Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. My guy, producer Jack Lauderay, got his Monday night Prize Picks slate right. This is what he cooked up for Sunday. Aaron Rodgers, more than 22.5 passing yards. TJ Hawkinson, 35.5 receiving yards. Jalen Hurts, more than a half passing yard. That is your max discount. Put it in your lineup, or else, frankly, I'm just going to have to say you don't know ball. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS with code CLNS. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Next up, another Dolphin, Jaylen Phillips, the edge rusher, who I think this one makes a lot of sense. Just where the Dolphins are at as a franchise and what Jaylen Phillips' future looks like, frankly, overall. Injuries are a huge issue. He's played 12 games combined in 2024, 2023. He was really good, though, in 2023. The breakout was coming. Been pretty quiet so far this year. Then again, the Dolphins haven't been good, so it's a little bit tough to get quality pass rush chances when you're down a lot. Jaylen Phillips' 2025 fifth-year option of $13.25 million is fully guaranteed. That's an issue for teams. Again, it's the prorated figure, so it's not quite 13. Call it 11 right now, or 11 in 2 weeks maybe. That's a lot. Would the Dolphins eat some of it? I don't know. You do it in November 1st. It's a little bit less. It kind of gets cut down closer to 7. Maybe that's doable. Maybe it's not. The money could be an issue. But this is such a logical trade candidate because the Dolphins haven't paid him yet. Unlike so many of their other guys, like this is a much better setup for the Dolphins to ship off a player, get assets back. The Dolphins are exactly where you do not want to be as a franchise. They are leveraged with their contracts. They've paid a lot of guys. They're expensive. They're struggling. And they're old. That's the worst spot to be in the NFL. Now, if you want all the latest news, rumors, trade ideas, everything else on the NFL, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Travis Etienne is on this list. And I'll make note, ESPN did publish this before the Week 3 games. So things changed, I guess. But they did publish this after the Jags traded away Tank Bigsby. I have been very impressed by Etienne. This is the best version of Travis Etienne I think we've seen. A lot better than the guy that we saw in 2023, we saw in 2022. Maybe it was the coaching change. Maybe the schematic changes have benefited Jacksonville, who's 2-1, fighting for a playoff spot early on in the season. Not that expensive. You're going to average almost 6 yards a carry, 6.14. Now it becomes palatable, the prorated figure, of course, as opposed to, do you want to pay that for 4 yards per carry? No. But for 6? Yeah, you're much more interested there. But the Jags already traded away Tank Bigsby. So I don't know why they'd move Travis Etienne. I'm a big believer in Bashal Tutin long term. I like LaQuint Allen as a third down kind of blocking, pass catching back. But I don't think now is the time to do that. Name a player who you think ends up getting traded. Drop that player name for me in the comments section of today's show. What player do you think ends up getting moved? Romeo Doubs is next up here. That is the Packers wide receiver. Look, I have big thoughts on this one, but these are the 5 names that ESPN mentioned as potential trade candidates. Who is most likely to be traded? TH for Tyreek Hill, KC for Kirk Cousins, TE for Travis Etienne, JP for Jaylen Phillips, RD for Romeo Doubs. Who is most likely to get traded this NFL pre-trade deadline timeline? Romeo Doubs had the weird stuff last year where he was like unhappy with his status and like wanted to be aboard. Like it was weird. Like he wasn't happy with his playing time and kind of got like sent home, and like they actually kind of like figured things out afterward. He's cheap. 3.58 cap hit for the Packers. The cash owed, which is what the prorated figure new team would owe, and the Packers would save, is around a little over $3 million, something along those lines. But why would the Packers do this? Romeo Doubs is a starter for them. He's not a star. I'm waiting on the Matthew Golden breakout game. History of this year is going to come against the Cowboys, but Packers are in win-now mode. Why would they trade away a starting receiver? Even if it's about like getting assets back. Who cares about assets with the micro trade? You're trying to win a Super Bowl. I don't think that makes any sense unless Doubs like tries to force his way out of Green Bay for some unknown reason.